Portal fans, something exciting is brewing. A rumoured hardware upgrade could mean it's time to rethink your Portal. Could this be the Portal Pro or the Portal Edge we've been hoping for? Let's dig into what's out there in the rumourverse and what it could mean for all of us. So there's a new leak making the rounds right now, and this one actually comes from prominent hardware leaker Kepler L2, who has a pretty solid track record when it comes to this kind of information. According to the leak, Sony could be planning an OLED PlayStation Portal update in 2026. So not tomorrow, but soon enough that it's worth paying attention to. 2026, this year? How many of us saw that happening? This timing is interesting too, because Sony has been pushing the Portal more recently, especially after unlocking cloud streaming and adding more value to the device, like being able to buy games and stream them from the cloud without owning a PlayStation 5. So it's kind of like a standalone device right now, although it is limited to needing an online connection all the time. So when you look at all of that together, the rumour actually starts to make a lot of sense. And the key thing here is that this wouldn't be a brand new generation. It would essentially be a mid-cycle refresh of the existing Portal. So what does that mean? Honestly, if Sony were going to upgrade anything on the Portal, I think one of the first places they would start is the screen. The Portal is, an internet and screen first device. Your entire experience lives and dies by your internet and the display. An OLED panel would mean deeper blacks, better contrast, richer colours, and a more premium look overall. And it would help with battery life, as OLED screens typically use less power than LCD screens. If your whole experience is built around the screen, upgrading the screen is a pretty logical move, because after all, this is a DualSense cut in half with a screen slammed in the middle. It also makes me wonder if Sony could follow a similar path to what Nintendo did when they introduced their OLED model of the Switch halfway through the Switch's life cycle. Now, that version didn't just improve the panel, which was a big upgrade. The OLED screen was fantastic versus the standard one. However, it also slightly increased the screen size. So could a Portal OLED have a slightly bigger display too? I think a lot of players would welcome that. However, I don't know how it would fit into the kind of body and the shape it's got just now, because the screen literally goes right to where the thumbsticks are. There is a bit of a border at the top and the bottom and at the sides, but it's the positioning of the thumbsticks. Could that potentially move and then we could get a slightly bigger screen? Who knows? Let me know if you'd like to see a bigger screen on your PlayStation Portal. Now, that's not the only rumours which we heard from Kepler L2 on NeoGAF. Alongside this Portal OLED rumour, there was also talk about something called Project Canis, which is reportedly Sony's code name for their long-term plan for a more powerful native handheld. So think about the Portal streams everything. It can't play anything natively on the device without an internet connection. It's just a streaming device. This thing would be like our Vita or PSP2, where you could download games to the device and play them without an internet connection. One interesting detail from the leaks is that Sony has reportedly updated the PlayStation 5 development kit with a mandatory low power or low power saving mode. So this is meaning developers need to make their game able to scale down. This is PlayStation 5 games, scale down and run on this future handheld hardware. If we get a Portal Pro or Edge or OLED upgrade this year and then a Portal or PlayStation dedicated handheld next year, handheld fans are eating good from Sony, which is awesome to see. So this all suggests Sony is seriously thinking about and working on how to get your existing PlayStation 5 library working as well as it can on a portable system. As you probably noticed by Sony rolling out low power mode to all PlayStation 5 consoles recently. But to be clear, this is a future separate system, not something replacing the PlayStation Portal. For now, it just shows that Sony seems serious about handheld gaming again. Thank goodness for that. But today, the real story is what's happening with the Portal. To me, this kind of refresh signals that the Portal isn't just a one-off experiment, which I think it kind of was when Sony started. Companies don't revise hardware if it isn't performing well. And I think Sony have been surprised by how well this thing is selling. So it's suggesting that Sony are confident in it. It suggests that the Portal's here to stay. And it suggests we could see even more updates and refinements over time to, obviously, the physical portal with the hardware like we're talking about just now. And even more software upgrades and enhancements, which is awesome to think about. The Portal might quietly be becoming its own, long-term part of the PlayStation ecosystem, which is pretty cool, especially considering how badly it was written off by everyone at launch. Everyone saying it was just a disaster, it was a, paperweight, useless, it's going to be a total flop. But I really enjoyed playing on mine, and that is what gaming is all about, enjoyment. So I'm happy to see it is doing well. Now, if this OLED model is real, there are a few things I'd personally love to see alongside that screen upgrade. First, the OLED panel itself would already be a big win. I'm honestly not too fussed about higher refresh rates. I know some people will ask for 120Hz, but for a streaming device, 60Hz is absolutely fine for me. I just can't imagine playing 120 frames per second, FPS game on this. Save that for the big screen. However, I might be wrong. For other games, it might be awesome. The visual quality matters, more here to me than refresh rate and frame rate just now. One thing I would really love to see though is back buttons. If Sony added programmable back buttons like on the DualSense Edge, that would be fantastic. That alone could make this feel like a true Portal Pro or Portal Edge model, which we have talked about on the channel before. Heck, who knows, this device with the OLED screen might actually be the Portal Pro or Portal Edge, and that's all we've heard about, in these first leaks is the screen. I'd also love to see detachable thumbsticks, so if you ever get stick drift, or one of the sticks fails, like what happened on this white launch day PlayStation Portal model I have right here, being able to swap modules instead of replacing the whole unit would be a huge quality of life improvement and just take a lot of worry away from players that are worried about, getting stick drift and then having this whole device just be a brick. And since this device 100% lives and dies by your internet connection, an upgraded Wi-Fi chip would make a lot of sense. Something like Wi-Fi 6E or even Wi-Fi 7 for better range and stability would be a genuine improvement, for the real world experience of so many gamers. Especially if you're having difficulty getting a solid connection for this, it would just be a game changer. None of this changes what the Portal is though. It just makes a good device even better because these upgrades I'm suggesting are not, allowing you to download games and play them without an internet connection. That is for the standalone device, which should be coming along in 2027. Which makes me really curious about what you think. Would an OLED screen make you upgrade your current Portal? Or if you don't own one yet, would this be the version that finally convinces you to buy one? And do you want to see a true Portal Pro or Portal Edge someday with some of the features I've mentioned? The Portal clearly isn't going anywhere. The question now is how far Sony wants to take it with software upgrades and hardware upgrades. And if you're wondering why the PlayStation Portal in general makes so much sense right now, given the state of the gaming landscape, check out this video on screen right now.